All right, what's going on, everybody? So, in this video, we're going to go over common questions that I hear all the time about Google Ads and how to answer them and what their answers actually are. The reason I differentiate how to answer them and what their answers actually are is because most of the questions that I get from or regarding Google Ads don't have a very straightforward answer. It might be a little more vague or it might be dependent upon the situation. But if you're in front of a client or you're in front of a key stakeholder in your situation and they ask you one of these questions, you want to be armed with the right information to know how to answer the question. You don't want to be one of those that says, oh, well, it depends. Of course it depends. It depends on a lot of things, but explain further, right? So that's the purpose of this video. And right now we're going to dive right in. So the first question I see all the time is, how much does Google Ads cost and what should my budget be? Well, that's a great question and it depends. It depends. So, okay, how do we really answer this question? By the way, this is David Feldman-Makrias back at it again. If you like any of this stuff, please leave me some comments below. I'd really appreciate it. But first and foremost, how do we answer what the budget should be? So this depends on a lot of different factors, but I'm going to give you some of those factors now so you can better determine what the size and the scale is. So I think one of the biggest things is it a local business or a national business? I'll call it a national business, but or a business not limited by geography, right? I think that's one of the most important questions because oftentimes I'll find that local businesses have have a smaller threshold of budget in the most cases. Now, there are some businesses that have a lot of budget room, like let's take a nail salon versus a car dealership. A nail salon may only have $1,000 or $2,000 to run ads per month, specifically on Google. But a car dealership may have $20,000 to run ads on Google and they're both local businesses, but their price points are different. Their ticket items are different, and their annual revenue is much different as well. Car dealers fall within that golden geese revenue from about 5 million to 100 million in annual revenue. Most local nail salons, I doubt, would even crack 1 million. They may do half of that. So it really depends on the local business and what the geography is. You know, I've heard the term marketing budgets are, 15% of what their revenue is. I've heard that term loosely, and that's a good way to kind of back into it. You can do an average of, just to have an off the cuff conversation, marketing budget can be 15% of revenue. That could be monthly, annually, whatever. That's just to get in the vicinity. I would not stop at that, though. Like, you can't just say, oh, you bring in $100,000 in revenue, then you should spend $15,000. There are a lot more things to look at besides that, but that's like a good initial gauge to tell you, what kind of marketing budget they would need. So what else, though? What else? So here's some examples, right? I think the best thing to do is to make a list of examples. So examples would be, I see plumbing businesses, nail salons, electrical repair. Again, these local businesses on Google specifically now, I was referring this 15%. This is all marketing. So all marketing budget can be 15% of revenue. I'm not even talking about Google Ads. I think Google Ads, though, can be a very, very big portion of the budget, 30, 40%. So I'll write that down too. Google Ads is typically, at least nowadays, is 30% to 40% of most marketing budgets. I see that across car dealerships. I see that across e-commerce is different. It's much higher in e-commerce, but That's a very, very, very broad average. But Google Ads, it's a majority of spend. It covers a lot of networks, and it's low hanging fruit, right? So plumbing businesses, nail salons, and electrical repair. Let's say those can be anywhere from, it depends on size and scale, but $1,000, and I'm only talking in ad spend, right? $1,000 to $5,000 per month, and this is ad spend. This could be more. This could be way more. Depends. Depends. But again, rough estimates. It depends on the location. It depends on what we're shooting for. It depends on the scalability. It depends on, do they have multiple stores or not. So when someone asks you, I guess the best thing about this question is when someone asks you the actual question, they just want to hear a response, right? They don't necessarily want to hear depends. I got this from my car selling days. People would come in and want to know the price right off the bat, a lot of them. And one thing I would say is, I don't want to just say, oh, let me go check with my manager or whatever. One thing I would say is, I don't have that information right offhand, but the prices are updated daily. And the price range on this particular vehicle between this and this. But that depends on a lot of other factors, right? So you give them a little bit of that answer that they're looking for, but then you also leave on the hook as far as, okay, what other factors do I need to determine to be able to fall into that? Because it'll establish trust between you and whoever that is. So like if someone asks me this question, how much does Google Ads cost? I would say, like, just right off the cuff, no intuition, no whatever, I would go like this. Well, it ranges. I have clients that spend between $1,000 in Google Ads a month to upwards of $70,000 in Google Ads a month. There's a lot of different variants between that, so I'd have to know a little bit more. Typically, what I see, local businesses, anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 plus. If you're dealing with higher ticket items, I see $20,000 to $25,000 to $30,000 plus in Google Ads ad spend. And then as far as e-commerce clients, it could be anywhere from $5,000 to $6,000 a month, upward of $70,000, $80,000, $90,000, and the limit, it doesn't exist as far as monthly budgets. And I always talk in monthly budgets. That's one thing too. Define your, define your date range, I guess, or define your time span. Monthly, quarterly, yearly. See, I like monthly because I prefer monthly because monthly, you have to earn it every month. And to plan out a year, especially now with all the changing demand, all the changing inventory, supply, all this different stuff across all the different markets, ever since COVID, I don't really think it's fair to plan a yearly budget and then stick to that. Maybe you can have, okay, we approximate 15% growth, so we're going to plan for a 15% increase for the year, but we're going to allow this much variance. I mean, that would be the only thing I'd put into a yearly, like a marketing plan. Otherwise, I'd evaluate monthly because I've had clients scale so much faster than if they were to plan monthly. You have to leave that target open. So monthly, I find, is the best form of budget planning. And then you can review it quarterly or review it every couple months. That's the best, You can have a very loose year-end budget, but monthly I think is the best. So, okay, how else would I define this? How much does Google Ads cost? What should my budget be? So you can say typically your budget can be anything, typically what we like to say, any marketing, right, is 15% of what your revenue is. That's a loose version to start. Google Ads is typically 30 to 40% of most marketing budgets that I see nowadays. And then I'll give you some examples. Some plumbing businesses, nail salons, electrical repair companies have Google Ad spend from $1,000 to $5,000 per month in ad spend. Car dealers, for example, have much more, typically $15,000 to $25,000 in the Chicagoland metro, also dependent upon area. And then it depends on what what time span we're talking about, monthly, yearly, quarterly. So that is how I would answer. How much does Google Ads cost and what should my budget be? To break that down again, you want to define some criteria. You want to give an answer. I'll let me write the rules of answering this question. Give an immediate answer to define trust and briefly discuss how you got there. So again, just an off-the-cuff conversation. I'm going to put that bullet point here. Just to have an off-the-cuff conversation. All marketing budgets can be 15% of revenue. And then what you're going to do, further define your assumptions, and then give. Actually, I would give tangible examples first. Give tangible examples and define assumptions. That's a great way of answering the question. So the response then would be just to have an off-the-cuff conversation. All marketing budgets can be around 15%, right? Google Ads is typically 30 to 40% of most marketing budgets that I see today. And then I'm going to give some examples, and then I'm going to define assumptions. There we go. So that's a loose way of how to answer that question already. So we're going to do that. We're going to light it blue. So now it's like a formulaic approach of how you can answer that question moving forward. And, just some loose examples and loose numbers of how to determine that. Now, if you want to get more specific is going to be, evaluating cost per click metrics and defining exactly what that would be. And you can use the keyword planner tool to do that. So I'll cap it off with that. You're going to specifically for Google Ads define keywords. I'd start at a keyword level for your business. I'm going to say define initial keywords for your business and evaluate cost per click metrics. Google Ads works on a cost per click basis. So once you do this, that's going to give you, some ranges. So you can figure, okay, if I get, let's say my average cost per click for my industry is $5. I don't know. I'm just making it up. So if I want 50 clicks, that's going to cost me $250, right? So then you work it backwards. Oh, well, you're working it forwards technically, but then you have to get into conversion or, clicks, impressions, CTR, conversions, all that good stuff, phone calls, and then find out what you can afford to pay for each one. And you set up a monthly budget that's roughly synonymous with where your company or where your stakeholder falls into the category. And then you run some tests. And that's how you get started, right? So that would be my off-the-cuff action plan of how to get started with Google Ads or how to improve your Google Ads situation. So you can use tools. I'd go to the keyword planner, Google Ads keyword planner. If you don't know what that is, there's plenty of other resources online. You could just straight up Google it. And I wonder if Google has some free documentation of this. Google Ads keyword. I just know where it is inside Google Ads. So, okay, this looks like a link. I can put that in the document. But I don't know if that link's going to actually do what I want. Find your campaign keywords. I'll give you guys a link anyways. So that'd be the one place I go to. But honestly, Google Ads Keyword Planner is not super reliable. It's not super reliable. So do whatever you want with that. I mean, it's okay, but I wouldn't take it verbatim. Like, it'll give you ranges. Like, if you're a lawyer in Chicagoland, your CPCs are going to be a lot higher. I think it was like $40 or $50 a click the last time I checked. Don't quote me. But like a plumber, that could be $5, $3, whatever. So it'll give you estimates and ranges like that, and you just got to take like a ballpark range and just start, right? So that's question number one. Wow, that took a lot longer than I thought. How much does Google Ads cost? What should my budget be? So that gives that. All right, what does a Google ad look like? Cool. Let's get into this one. What does a Google ad look like? And guys, I think I'm gonna put this in multiple parts because it's just gonna be a freaking long video unless I put it in multiple parts. So, what does a Google ad look like? Let's get into it now. I actually have some examples. Let me minimize my big old head over here, and I'm gonna show actual examples on specific situations. So there's multiple things a Google ad will look like. In the olden days, okay, in my first example, this guy right here that's a sponsored Ford Motor Company, build price and find yours, Ford new SUVs, trucks, cars. This blue hyperlink with some text underneath and some other links, that was what a Google ad looked like, okay? And many business owners assume that this, even to this day, that's what a Google ad looks like. And they're not wrong. That is what a Google ad looks like. However, Google has, especially with over the last, I don't even know when they got YouTube. Let me see. When did ABC Company purchase YouTube? Wow, 2006. So that was a while ago. I mean, since the inception of that purchase, 18 years ago, like Google has been like redefining its ad platform to reach all these different networks, right? So that changes the way a Google ad looks like. So if I go back in here, this is what we think of a Google ad, right? Now, I have two placements here, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. What we're looking at is the search network, okay? All this is related to answer of what Google ads look like. All this is related to the search network. So the search network, I'm on Google, like I physically went here, google.com, right? And I looked up new Ford Transit for sale. So when that happens, I'm going to call it a classic search ad. I don't know if there is a current definition of it, but it is a classic search ad. And with that, blah, 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 blah. Why can't I think? So with that, that's a classic search ad. That's what people think of the most. That's the lowest hanging fruit on Google. You're pulling people in based off of the search phrase that they're putting in. And it's based off a keyword basis. Well, kind of. So you'll hear keywords a lot too, and I'll get into that in a minute. But these are the examples of what it looks like on the Google search. That's why it's search network. Whenever we see the search bar, we think of search network. It's classic Google search, basically this bar up here. Now, there's two ad examples in here. Now, this is where it gets more interesting. This top one, the bottom one here, that's a classic search ad, right? That's like the original, the OG Google ad. Then we have what's called a product listing ad, or in this case is a vehicle listing ad specific for car dealers. I work predominantly with car dealerships, and that's why I use this example, but I also handle e-commerce and other local businesses. So that's why, I just thought it would be a nice example. Product listing ads actually show an image, a title of what the product is, what the price is, where the location is, so on and so forth. And it's not just specifically for the automotive industry, and I'm sure you know this already. If I look up new brown shoes for sale, I'm going to get a bunch of product listing ads. So this actually just went all the way to the shopping network, but you would also see it in normal Google search. I do like it already has these default filters here. That's pretty cool. Um, but these are example of product listing ads. This is also part of the search network. Okay. The search network, I'd say, is your most bottom of funnel network because you have the intent of someone looking for your product or something very closely related to your product. My advice as a marketer would be, especially digital marketer in Google Ads, is to capture all the lowest hanging fruit possible. And I would start with everything on the search network, right? That would be first and foremost. And that's why I'm starting to go through these examples with the search network. We're going to broaden out now. So that's the search network. Let's get into the next phase. And this one, is it going to let me do this? Perfect. This is the search partner network. Okay. This guy right here is search partner network. Basically, if we read Google's documentation on this, what is Google Search Partners? Google Search Partners are websites that have been approved by Google to display Google search ads and provide free product listings. These sites are part of Google Search Network, and their ads and listings can appear on search results pages, site directory pages, and other pages related to a person's search. Google Search Partners extend the reach of Google search ads and listings to hundreds of non-Google websites, as well as YouTube and other Google sites. So it's basically Google taking the concept of search and expanding their inventory. Again, Google's helpful to businesses, don't get me wrong. But Google is an ad platform, and they get 90+% of all their revenue from advertisers, okay? And Google's worth a lot of money. So Google is in the realm of making money. This search network is an additional network that they came up with and used over the past 5, 6, 7 years, whatever, to expand their reach. What it looks like is this. For example, this website here, Dogpile actually shows what looks like Google search ads, right? The top 10 best sightseeing tours, day tour San Diego, and I looked in Dogpile San Diego day trips. This is a inherent integrated search engine within, like, maybe it's a blog or maybe it's a website, and you could just type in whatever. So if that's part of the search network, that can show up here as well. It's still somewhat search-based, but it's not as good of quality as the classic Google Search Network. Why? Because most of these other subsidiary blogs and other websites don't have the same sort of relevance and trust as Google does. So that's why I wouldn't saturate this first and foremost. I would saturate this in the next step, right? So, and it's tricky. When you set up a Google Ads campaign, a lot of times the search partner network is automatically defaulted when you don't necessarily want to do that, because especially when you're starting out or running and configuring things, you want to make sure you're hitting the most concentrated area of your business first. I wouldn't say search partner is in most cases. So it's an additional add-on, but I wouldn't start with it. So now let's go from search partner network. And just to let you know, there are 6 different networks. I'm going to go through them all now. So, and again, the reason I'm getting into networks is because these are what Google Ads really look like. It's important to understand. So now we're in a display network, and this is more of a classic. This has always been around. Like, this is one of the ones that's been around for a long period of time. So display works on partnering with other sites that Google approves and that can show banner ads. So this one is an example, Pinch of Yum. Pinch of Yum actually is a blog, right? But this blog is approved by Google to actually push ads. And then here is a little display banner ad for whatever company this is, TD Ameritrade maybe. So that is display-based targeting. Again, we're getting higher up in the funnel as we go down. We started with search. That's the lowest part. Then we're going up. Then we did search network. Still search related, but not as relevant and good quality typically. Then we're going to display. So we're going up, right? Consideration. Maybe somebody's been to your website. You need to retarget them with some ads. You're trying to re-engage. That's where you would use display. Now, let's go to the video. So this one here, this is the video. Why did that happen? Hold on. Formatting. Video. So this is a video network or YouTube in a sense. You know, what is Google Ads video? Google Ads, you can create compelling video campaigns with a range of video and ad formats to engage customers in different ways on YouTube and across other video partner sites. But think of it as mostly YouTube, right? So other partner sites, similar to search partners, there's all these other little conglomerate sites that maybe we'll be able to put videos on, but a lot of it is going to be on YouTube. Now you can, this is where it gets tricky. You can put a video ad here, okay? That's part of something you can do. You can use a video ad as a display ad, and that's where they start to get crossing different networks. But again, I'm gonna keep it simple. So this video ad here is a pre-roll of when I looked up new Ford Transit for sale. For whatever reason, a Hyundai Palisade video came up for me, which is not really the same segment, but whatever. So this is a pre-roll YouTube video ad. It's 15 seconds. It's not skippable, and I have to watch it. Force watch 15-second video. Good for brand awareness, even driving engagement, consideration, those type of things that are higher off in the marketing funnel. It's pretty positive. And I'm just giving some other examples too of what it could look like. Here's an ad here. I was looking for Ford Transit inside the YouTube, but this Hyundai Palisade came up. Maybe it's retargeting me because I did go to a couple Hyundai sites recently for some research. So that could be some YouTube retargeting in that sense as well. All right, so now we're getting down to the last, looks like the last versions. I'm actually missing one. The last couple I'm going to cover pretty quickly because they're just more ancillary, and I think it's Google just trying to optimize their inventory because I don't see a lot of relevance in them. Then we have Discover Network, which really now is called Demand Gen campaigns. It used to be called Discovery campaigns. It still is called the Discovery. Is it Discover Network? Discovery Network Google Ads? Google Ads Discovery, Google Discovery Ads. It is its own network, or at least it used to be. Whatever. Discovery Network, and this is Demand Gen campaigns, recently called Demand Gen. So this type of stuff, I think, is more awareness consideration based. I don't see a lot of benefit, at least in the short term, or at least in the local business or small business, small to medium sized business. I mean, it's okay. I don't play a lot in Demand Gen, but maybe I need to try more. Demand Gen is basically, or Discovery Network is consideration in allowing people to discover what your product is about. So like as an example, you have this visit site. Maybe I looked up something really relevant to this, and YouTube is finding different ways to inform me about products I didn't even know about. That's what Discovery Network is. Again, this wouldn't be something I would fund right away. This would be more a long-term approach. And then, shop boots, slippers, apparel, and more. I have seen YouTube do a really good job of informing me on channels and things like that in my feed or what have you that I had no idea existed, but I do like because of the interest that it has analyzed by me. And I see it mostly on YouTube because that's where I go. It's also across all of Google's placements. So I don't think you'll see it in search, but you'll see it in YouTube. You'll see it in display. Um, Mostly YouTube or on its Discover feed. I know there's the Google app as well, so you may see it there too, and as well as Gmail. So that's what that is. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on that, but at least you know what it looks like. And then finally, we have Gmail ads. This is just straight up ads in Gmail. It can be image based, video based. It's going to go into the promotions box. I had a better picture of this. Hold on. Here we go. So like, this is an old school. You see all the like the little square icons. This is old school. So like in the promotions tab, we don't really have promotions tabs like this anymore, but it's basically ads that come in as promotions. I never see them because I filter my inbox. Otherwise, I'd have way too many freaking emails. But I don't think everybody filters their inbox, so still relevant. So yeah, wow, that took some time. So I'm gonna cut it there. I'm gonna say see below for what Google Ads looks like. And we'll stay tuned for the next installment where I go over some of the other common Google Ads questions. I'll probably break this into 2 more videos just for time's sake. And I hope this helps. If you'd like me to go over anything else specifically or have different comments or different questions that you hear that you'd like to have answered, please let me know in the comments. Again, this was David Feldman-Makrias, and I'll see you soon.